Guy of Lusignan became king of Jerusalem in 1186 after the death of his wife's son, Baldwin V. At the time, the kingdom of Jerusalem was divided. The Knights Templar and prominent figures such as Reynald of Châtillon supported Guy's succession. On the other hand, the nobles faction, led by Raymond III of Tripoli, who had been a regent for the child king Baldwin V, had opposed Guy's succession. In the background of those divisions, Saladin had become vizier of Egypt in 1169 and had taken Damascus in 1174 and Aleppo in 1183. He now controlled the entire southern and eastern flanks of the Crusader states. He united his subjects under Sunni Islam and convinced them that he would wage holy war to push the Christian Franks from Jerusalem. Saladin often made strategic truces with the Christians when he needed to deal with political problems in the Muslim world, and one such truce was made in 1185. In 1187, Reynald of Châtillon raided a Muslim Hajj caravan while the truce with Saladin was still in place. Saladin swore that he would kill Reynald for violating the truce, and he sent his son Al-Afdal and the Emir Gökberi to raid the Frankish lands surrounding Acre. Gerard de Ridefort and the Templars engaged Gökberi in the Battle of Cresson in May 1187 and were heavily defeated. In late May, Saladin assembled the largest army he had ever commanded. He commanded some 40,000 men, including about 12,000 cavalry. He crossed the River Jordan on the 30th of June. The opposing Crusader army amassed at La Saforie, a well-watered and fortified position which had previously served as a mustering point in the event of Muslim intrusions from the east. The Crusader force consisted of around 20,000 men, including 1,200 knights from Jerusalem and Tripoli and 50 from Antioch. There were crossbowmen from the Italian merchant fleet and a large number of mercenaries hired with money donated to the kingdom by Henry II, King of England. The army's standard was the relic of the True Cross, carried by the Bishop of Acre. Saladin decided to lure Guy into moving his field army away from their secure fortified encampment, located by the springs at La Saforie. And on the 2nd of July, Saladin personally led an assault on Raymond's fortress of Tiberius, where Raymond III's wife, Eschiva of Bures, was trapped. The main Muslim army remained at Kafr Sabt. At Tiberius, within a day, one of the fortress towers was mined and collapsed. Saladin's troops stormed the breach, killing some of the opposing force and taking prisoners. Raymond's wife, Eschiva of Bures, held out with the surviving Frankish troops in the citadel. Raymond argued that Guy should not engage Saladin in battle and that Saladin could not hold Tiberius. This, along with the fact that a march from Acre to Tiberius was exactly what Saladin wanted, while La Saforie was a strong position for the Crusaders to defend. The Knights Hospitaller also advised Guy not to provoke Saladin. Raymond was accused of cowardice by Gerard de Ridefort and Reynald. Ridefort and Reynald advised Guy to advance against Saladin, and Guy took their advice. Move out! the Crusaders began moving out from their secure, supply-rich location to meet Saladin. This was a gamble on Guy's part, as he had left only a few knights to defend the city of Jerusalem. As the Muslim troops began to construct a second mine to attack the citadel on 3rd July, Saladin received news that Guy was moving the Frankish army east. The Crusaders had taken the bait. On the 3rd of July, the Frankish army started towards Tiberius. On their route, they were constantly harassed by Muslim horse archers. At midday, Raymond of Tripoli decided that the army would not reach Tiberius by nightfall, and he and Guy agreed to change the course of the march and veer to the left in the direction of the springs of Hattin, only 6 miles away. From there, they could march down to Tiberius the following day. Saladin's men positioned themselves between the Frankish army and the water so that the Franks were forced to pitch camp overnight on the arid plateau near the village of Meskenna. Throughout the night, Saladin's men surrounded the Crusader camp. They further demoralized the Crusaders by praying, singing, beating drums, showing symbols, and chanting. They set fire to the dry grass, making the Crusaders' throats even drier. The Crusaders were thirsty, demoralized, and exhausted. The Muslim army, by contrast, had a caravan of camels bring goatskins of water up from Lake Tiberius. On the morning of the 4th of July, Gerard and Reynald advised Guy to form battle lines and attack. Raymond led the 1st Division with Raymond of Antioch, the son of Bohemond III of Antioch, while Balian and Jocelyn III of Edessa formed the rearguard. Thirsty and demoralized, the Crusaders broke camp and marched in the direction for the springs of Hattin. Saladin's army blocked the route forward and any possible retreat. The two armies clashed and intense fighting broke out. Count Raymond managed to break through Saladin's lines and galloped towards the lake. After Raymond escaped, Guy's position was desperate. Many Crusader troops retreated onto the Horns of Hattin, where they played no further part in the battle. Overwhelmed by thirst and wounds, many of Guy's soldiers were killed while the remainder were taken prisoner. Their situation was so dire that 5 of Raymond's knights went over to the Muslim leaders to beg that they be mercifully put to death. The Christians still fought on. Some of the Crusaders made a formidable charge against the Muslims facing them, and in a small moment of victory, they pushed back the Muslim troops. However, these Muslims rallied and returned to the fight. After some more intense fighting, the Crusaders were finally beaten for good.
And I'll break your legs! We keep going!
Saladin dismounted, praised God, and wept for joy. By the end of the battle, most of the Crusader army of 20,000 men had been killed. In contrast, Saladin's army had suffered light casualties. Prisoners after the battle included Guy and Reynald of Chatillon and many other barons of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Guy and Reynald were brought to Saladin. Saladin offered Guy water, which was a sign in Muslim culture that the prisoner would be spared, but Guy was unaware of that and passed the goblet to Reynald. Saladin struck it from his hands and said, "I did not ask this evil man to drink, and he would not save his life by doing so." He then charged Reynald with breaking the truce. Saladin himself then executed Reynald with a single stroke of his sword. Guy assumed that he would also be beheaded, but Saladin assured him that kings do not kill kings. After executing Reynald of Chatillon, Saladin ordered that the other captive barons be spared and treated humanely. All 200 of the Templar and Hospitaller knights taken prisoner were executed. The rest of the captured soldiers were sold into slavery. Guy of Lusignan was taken to Damascus as a prisoner and granted release in 1188, while the other noble captives were eventually ransomed. On Sunday, the 5th of July, Saladin marched to Tiberius, and Countess Ayyubid surrendered the citadel of the fortress. The heavy defeat at Hattin meant there was little reserve to defend against Saladin's forces. Only some 200 knights escaped the battle. This allowed Saladin to capture 52 settlements, and Jerusalem finally fell to Saladin on the 2nd of October.